Hi, I'm Yousuf, and I am the producer of Desi Men Finally Talking, or otherwise known as DMFT. So I figured I'd take some time to talk to you about what this podcast is and isn't. And I, the first question that comes up is why a podcast about Desi men or men at all? Men are empowered enough in a patriarchal society, and why do we need a podcast for them? So first of all, let me just be clear is that this podcast is not an exclusive men's club. I'm going to try and get perspectives from a whole range of people: young, old, uh, female, male, uh, other. And it's really about people who are middle aged men, but also those who love them and support them and or hate them or perplexed by them. I think all of those people will get something out of this. And look, at the end of the day, the title is a bit provocative, and it was meant to be that because I needed to get your attention. So let me tell you a little bit about me. I am, of course, a middle-aged Desi man who I grew up in the US, and whatever I talk about in the podcast, the scenes that I've written, or my conversations, really, all of this is a function of my experiences. Um, and it's with my friends, people that I know, and situations that I've seen in my life. So it's really a mixture of all those things. So that's where the content really comes from. So, how did the idea for this podcast come about for me? So, when I was looking for podcasts focused on South Asians in the West, I found a lot of podcasts by women for women. So, about sisterhood, womanhood, motherhood, all of that. And it's great. It's great content. I found nothing substantial about middle aged Desi men. And there's nothing that discussed major milestones in the Desi man's life, like divorce, dating after divorce, death of parents, really all of the fatherhood. So all of these ideas or topics, I just didn't feel were discussed, and I really think that often because the they see man and his needs in terms of emotional needs and life needs are often overlooked simply because he's really indoctrinated at an early age to do two things: take care of family and have a good career. And there's a lot more to him, but I didn't find anything or any podcasts out there that addressed it. So for me, the fact is that women are naturally better at creating a tribe, cultivating community, and bonding with others, and being able to be vulnerable. Men actually really suck at it. I mean, they they reach out to others when it comes to networking for their careers, but most men, there are always exceptions. They are not really encouraged to do it in their personal lives. So I decided to do this podcast because men really suck at talking about themselves, and many of them struggle to make meaningful connections. So that is the why I came up with this idea for the podcast. So, what is middle age to me? So, the definition actually officially is defined as someone who's between 40 and 60. Some refer to it as midlife, and others really connect it with the idea of the midlife crisis. But, in 1965, a gentleman by the name of Elliot Jacques, he was 48 years old then, and he was relatively unknown. He was a Canadian psychoanalyst. He coined the term midlife crisis. And Jacques wrote that during that period of his life, and it's really about he was thinking that midlife is about, or midlife crisis is about, when we come face to face with our limitations or our restricted possibilities, and some would say our mortality. I think middle age is more of a state of mind than like a fixed chronological age. It's when a man or a woman starts to think, most likely I'm halfway there in life. So halfway done, spent a lot of time trying to set myself up for where I am today. And what about the next part of my life? And for a lot of us, we weren't able to shape the first half of our life the way we wanted. It was really about maybe pleasing others or family, parents, what have you. But in midlife, some people realize that the second half of their lives, they can really shape. And some have a sense of urgency around that. So that's my idea of what midlife or middle age is. So over the past few years, I've seen a growing number of articles pointing to the fact that adults in the Western world are increasingly lonely. In fact, the U.S. Surgeon General Vivek Murthy, who happens to be of South Asian heritage as well, he's middle-aged, and he's written a book about this epidemic called Together, The Healing Power of Human Connection in a Sometimes Lonely World. I also came across articles that highlight that men particularly are susceptible to loneliness. I think it's because men, we can have buddies and friends for a long time. We can go out, watch sports, meet at the bar for years on end, like decades. But we won't know anything really personal about our friends. And that's the whole idea of not being able, most of us, not being able to really form close bonds. Um, Most male connections and conversations are really based on finances, career, technology, cars, sports, and maybe taxes, and you throw in a little politics in there. That's what our conversations are about. And we almost never talk about our fears, disappointments, challenges, what's going on in our personal lives. We're just not equipped. And really, society doesn't have a vested interest in equipping us because our parents, families, all well intentioned, they expect us to focus on two things: career and family. And really, that's what keeps society intact. You know, I came across this study. It's the Harvard Happiness Study, which is a longitudinal study, 85 years long, from Harvard Medical School. And it really, at the end of the day, it found that people who are great at connecting and reaching out to others on a daily basis were really the happiest, and where they were able to be more resilient in life. And it wasn't really career achievement, money, even exercise or a healthy diet that really influenced their happiness. The most consistent uh, finding was that positive relationships kept these, it was men in this study, for 85 years that were studied. So positive relationships kept them happier, healthier, and helped them live longer, the ones who were able to cultivate meaningful relationships. So another interesting idea about midlife that I came across is something called a U curve. It's a U curve of happiness. The U curve is at its highest in youth, followed by a decline to its bottom, believe it or not, in midlife, and an upswing thereafter. So when I think of this podcast and who can benefit from it and really get into it and get something out of it, are people who are at the bottom of the U curve. Um, and those people, I think, can benefit by getting up the U curve a lot faster, the U happiness curve. Because instead of waiting till the latter half of your life, or the latter part of your life, I should say, to really become as happy as you were in your youth, um, you can do it faster. And not only middle-aged men are going to be better off, they spend time, finding connection or plugging into a community or tribe, or talking about their personal lives and having deeper bonds with friends. um, it's really people around them. So if you care for somebody who's a middle-aged man, in this case, a middle-aged Desi man, this some of the things in this podcast I'm hoping will really help you um, be there and care better for the person in your life. So some of the conversations are in this podcast are with my friends who've taken the road less traveled. We discuss divorce, failure, fear, personal growth, basically life stuff. And the scenes that I've written, such as functional marriage and sports dad, I've written them from my personal observations and experiences. Some of it is from my life, some of it from is what I've gotten from other people's lives. So that's where it really comes from. And I hope, again, if you're someone who cares for a middle-aged Desi man, or someone who can't stand him, or someone who's just simply confused by him, this podcast is for you. And I hope you enjoy it.